project, I chose to volunteer for my children's school. I knew I wanted to work with children, and the teachers would frequently ask parents for help in the classroom. My duties were to work with the kids in a one-on-one setting and address each of their individual needs. We would run through math facts where I would quiz them on math problems. I would also do reading assignments where I would time them on how fast they could read and how many words they got wrong, followed by questions on what they read. We also practiced their sight words, and I would make them flashcards for what they got wrong. I accumulated about 7 hours of volunteer time with the kids. At the beginning, the kids seemed hesitant to go with me. Most of the kids seemed shy and reserved, but a select few were very excited. When I continued to come in, the kids got more and more excited to see me. I would have multiple children a day ask me if they could go to work with me that day, even the apprehensive kids. They no longer avoided eye contact or had quiet voices. After a few days, the kids would still be excited to see me, and many of them said they couldn't wait to show me how good they could read now, but they couldn't wait to show me how many math problems they practiced. During all these sessions, I changed and altered my tactics, keeping in mind Vygotsky's zone of proximal development and the scaffolding technique. So I gave these kids a lot of support, but not more than they needed to solve the problems. I made sure to give them effective praise and said things like, "Oh, you did practice. I can tell. You got so many problems right." And "Good job not giving up. That was a hard problem and you got it." One boy really stuck out to me. He was one of the first few kids I worked with on my first day. We will call him Jay. I went up to him on the first day and introduced myself to him. He said, "Hi, my name is Jay. I'm new to the school." He seemed happy and excited until I told him we would be working on our sight words. I was given a list, and the kids would go through and read off each word. If they didn't know a word or struggled a lot, I would write them a flashcard. As soon as we started, his whole demeanor changed. He curled up smaller and used his hands to cover most of his face. He talked quieter and said, "I don't know anything." He looked around like he was worried someone would see. All the kids before him only got 2 or 3 words wrong, and Jay only got 2 or 3 words correct. When he was done going through the page, I got closer to his level, and I told him, "I know reading can be hard, but if you just keep practicing and never give up, you can do this, and before you know it, you will be reading at superhero speed." This seemed to cheer him up, and he even smiled at me before he left. The next day, I got to work with him again. This time, he was so excited to see me and almost jumped with excitement when I called his name. We worked on math facts that day, and once again, he was far behind his classmates. I kept giving him encouragement, and his demeanor never changed to show the shame he showed in our first session. The last time I worked with Jay, he had much more confidence while reading. He had full focus on showing me how good he could read. His concentration was stronger than I had ever seen. It instantly made me feel proud. I felt like my encouragement and patience with him gave him more of a drive to improve. He told me he was practicing more at home. This made me feel proud too, because not only had I influenced his school life, but his home life as well. While reflecting on what I learned during my hours, I had a kind of epiphany. This little boy reminded me so much of myself. He didn't have many friends, and he was more excited to talk with adults than any classmates. He lacked confidence and saw his academic failures as shame, and it clearly affected his interaction with other students. Craig and Dunn state that children who have low self-esteem do not fare as well compared to those raised in a healthier setting, and self-perceived confidence may also affect school performance. Children's lack of scholarly self-confidence is also linked to a negative perception of social acceptance by other students. When I started going through my reading and attempting to apply theories to Jay and some of the other students, I realized I could apply them to myself as well. Erik Erikson's theory of industry versus inferiority tells us that during this stage, children attempt to establish a sense of personal competence and mastery. Academic success leads to a child incorporating industry into their self-image. Academic failure can lead a child into incorporating inferiority into their self-image. When I related this to Jay, I could also relate it to myself. I realized that both of us have more inferiority incorporated into our self-image. However, I watched Jay during our one-on-one time grow more confident and have a more positive outlook. There is still time to salvage his self-image and many of the other students as well. When looking forward in life, once a child reaches emerging adulthood, they form an identity. This is the next step of Erikson's psychodynamic theory called identity versus identity confusion. Using myself as an example, while going through school, I constantly felt like a failure. I had incorporated inferiority into my life as a child, and it stuck with me. I was a remarkable student, but I could never get it out of my head that someone else was better than me. I had and still do have a hard time with my self-identity because of the inferiority I related to as a child that still hasn't left me. I'm pushing 30 right now, and I am only just now setting a course for my life. I am still improving on rerouting my self-image and having self-confidence and redefining my identity formation. What will I do with this information? I would like to encourage all parents to volunteer as much as possible. Teachers work so hard to teach our students, but the size of the classrooms and the limited time make it difficult to have one-on-one time with the children. And for many of them, that's what they need. By helping these students gain a sense of industry and self-confidence, we can give them the advantage into achieving autonomy and positive self-concept. This age is critical to send kids down the right path, and more effort should be made to help the next generation achieve this. Over the course of this class, I have learned more about why people are the way that they are, the different theories we can apply to people, the stages people go through, and how each of these developmental tasks can affect everyone in a different way. I have learned how to assist and treat children different, including my own children. I feel I am more patient and understanding with my children, my family, and those around me. What I personally learned from this project is how drastically development can affect us years down the road. It is all connected, and the effects are lifelong. My values and interactions with children have changed since I started this process. I apply these thoughts and theories to these kids in hopes that I can be the one to help them through their stage, so they can gain their own mode of self-identity and self-esteem. I realized if I could help just one child achieve greater self-esteem and assist in his self-identity, I could help build him up to have a better future and be more self-reliant and live with more confidence and positivity.